ties with the Kalmyk people. And it is a monastery where traditionally and historically, where all the Mongolians went to study from Kalmykia. All the monks, majority of the monks who went to Tibet, all of them traditionally joined Drepung Gomang Monastery. Drepung Gomang Monastery was known as the only and the biggest international monastic institution because that monastery hosted monks from Mongolia and Russia, and no other monastery has hosted other what they call in Tibet foreigners. To this day, we have continued that relationship. Of course, in the 20th century, after the Bolshevik Revolution, and also after what happened in 1959, the ties and the system or the tradition of monks going to Tibet to study that lineage or tradition was broken. Only until 1991 or 1992, I should say, that we were able to reestablish that tradition, and that is thanks to the collapse of the Soviet Union. The Kalmyks were the very first one to send a group of students to India. A group of 30 students were sent to India, and that is something that I was involved in. I was also involved in reconnecting and reestablishing this historical ties and tradition. Until then, over 100 monks have studied from Kalmykia alone, as well as from Buryat, from Tuva, and also from Mongolia as well. So as of right now, there's over 500 or so Mongolians that are studying in Drepung Gomang Monastery. So that's a large number, and we hope that this tradition will definitely continue in the years to come. So they're visiting the U.S. during a religious or spiritual tour, traveling through many cities, universities, giving talks, giving exhibition, sharing the Buddhist culture, art and culture, and as well as giving talks about Buddhism and so on. So I was happening to be in town for a day or so, and they happened to have an opening. So we thought we organize something here today at the Zonkava Huru. And of course, we all know how important this Huru has been in the past, and is to this day. And we want to ensure that the importance of our history, our heritage, our hardship continues for the future generations. So it's a great honor for me to welcome on behalf of the Kalmyk Brotherhood Society, welcome the monks to our temple here. I want to thank all of you for coming. I truly believe that it is a rare gathering, and the reason I say it's a rare gathering is because I rarely come here, the monks rarely come here, we rarely get to see each other, and it always brings great joy to see our people from the older generation, that is what's left, of course, very small numbers, for them to give them a chance to come see old faces as well as new faces, get to know each other, and bring our community more closer and more strongly. I've had a great opportunity to study in Drepung Gomang Monastery. I'm very grateful for the monastery, for their continuous support, not only to me personally, but also to the Kalmyk monks who continue to study in the monastery as well. All the manyas, well, I shouldn't say all the manyas, but majority of the manyas, who most of them have already passed away, have all joined Drepung Gomang Monastery. Yendin Jamsa Manya from Nizan, he also studied in Drepung Gomang. Jamalodje Manya, who passed away a few years ago, he studied at Drepung Gomang. Back in the day, Gishiwan Yao, He was a great scholar, which all of us know. He studied at Drepung Gomang. And Manya Dawasambo, who was a Buddhist, also who lived and worked with Geshe Wangyal. He studied at that monastery, at Drepung Gomang Monastery. Gypsy Kaldin, back in the day, he passed away in the early 80s. He studied at Drepung Gomang. Geshe Yarpel, he also passed away in the early 80s. He studied at this monastery. Gumbujab, he studied at this at Drepung Gomang Monastery. Gypsy Molam, as we all know, who was served our Guru for many, many years, he also studied at Drepung Gomang Monastery. So, this really shows how we are linked and how our history and ties with this monastery is strong. And like I said before, there was a time where we kind of disconnected, but we were fortunate to reconnect, reestablish in the early 90s, and to this day it continues to grow and become very strong. And it's a great opportunity for to be hosting the monks here. Today we will recite what we call Medicine Buddha ritual. Medicine Buddha, of course, Buddha, as you can look at the altar, you will see many, and also not only the altar, but if you see the paintings and on the walls, you will see different forms of Buddhas, different colors of Buddhas, but what it represents is that an enlightened being such as Buddha has the ability to come in different forms, different colors. And the question may be asked, why does it have different forms? Why does it have different facial gestures? Why does it have different colors? That is because it is a tool. If I say in simple language, it's a tool for meditative purposes. In Buddhism, we emphasize the importance on reflecting, contemplating, and meditating. So therefore, it gives us an opportunity to visualize a certain deity or a certain Buddha, so we can, for example, meditate on compassion. Therefore, we have Buddha of compassion, which is also known as Avalokiteshvara or Aryapala. So therefore, and just when you see the image or when you see the form, when you recognize Avalokiteshvara, immediately we think compassion. When you say Amitayus, which is also a Buddha, but when you see that image, you think, oh, Buddha of long life. So that's why the importance of different forms and different colors and different gestures. So it is a meditative, instrument for us to utilize. So Buddha, as I said, comes in different forms, and also Buddha and Buddhism. It is not only the teachings, but also traditionally there has been many various rituals that have been written and composed by many great scholars. And Medicine Buddha today will be recited, and which is a healing ritual. When I say healing, it is not only the physical healing, but also mental healing as well. So during the time that we recite, I request all of you to be respectful to one another by turning off your cell phones, or at least putting it in silence, which is something I need to do myself, which I've already done. And also be respectful to the ones sitting beside you who are meditating and praying as well. It's a very rare opportunity that we get together like this. Of course, the service will probably go on for about an hour and a half, maybe less. But nevertheless, during the time, we request all of you to recite any mantra that you may know. I'm confident that everybody knows the mantra Om Mani Padme Hum, or you may know the mantra of Green Tara, Om Dari Dudari Duri Soha, or you might know other mantras. So this is a time and a good opportunity for you to join us in prayer, join us in a good spirit, positive energy. And one of the unique things about Buddhism, as I always tell people, is that we always pray for all sentient beings. We never say, "Oh, may only the Buddhists be happy. May only the Buddhists have good lives, or may only the Buddhists have good health." We always pray for all sentient beings, and when we say all sentient beings, that includes Christians, Muslims, Jewish, Hindus, Sikhs, and regardless of their race, regardless of their gender, regardless of their religion, we always include all sentient beings in our prayer. And therefore, I request you, all of you, to meditate, to contemplate, and to pray for everybody's well-being. And I always tell people that the meaning of life is to be happy. Every individual gathered here today wants to be happy and has the right to be happy. And therefore, we want to convey our prayers for happiness. I'm a very realistic individual, and I don't just depend on rituals and prayers alone to achieve the goals that I want to achieve in life. And everybody has different goals. You may have educational goals, you may have career goals, you might have a business goal, whatever it may be. Praying and performing a ritual alone is not going to solve all your problems. It has to be a collective effort. It has to be there has to be many components. There has to be many ingredients. Just like an example I would give you is just like we make bortsik, which is a favorite Kamik dish. To make bortsik, having somebody that knows how to make it is not sufficient enough. You need water, you need flour, you need eggs, you need kefir, you need sour cream, you need the oil, you need water. There's a component, and there's a list of ingredients that you need to make good, delicious bortsik. So that is the same how it is for us, that if we were to rely on ritual and prayers alone to solve all our problems, everybody would be billionaires a long time ago. Because all the monks are always praying for everybody's success, everybody's good health, and for the well-being of everybody. So if rituals and prayers alone solves every problem, then like I said, we wouldn't be sick. We would all be billionaires. We would be living comfortably many years ago. So since that's not the case, but I truly believe in the effects of prayer. So therefore, it is important to not only pray individually, but also to pray collectively. That is very important, and especially here in the temple. There's a certain reason why we call it a temple. It's considered as a holy and sacred place. So therefore, it should be respected with reverence. It should be considered as a holy place. And this is a very unique temple because many High Lamas have visited, many scholars have visited, many monks have visited, and as well His Holiness the Dalai Lama, who paid a visit here twice, last visit being 2008. So, by having these High Lamas set foot in the temple itself, that itself is a blessing, not only for the temple, but also for the people as well. And the aura, the energy, the blessings remain within the temple, and every time we set foot in the temple, we are blessed. We may not feel it like somebody's grabbing you or touching your head, but automatically, just being in the presence in the temple, we are automatically blessed. And I truly hope that all of you do feel blessed coming in here, and do feel the energy, the smell of the incense, and being in the presence of statues which have been statues and paintings which have been blessed and consecrated by many High Lamas. So therefore, just to give you a very brief introduction of that, as a Buddhist, we always begin by taking refuge in the three jewels. And the three jewels is meaning that the first jewel being the Buddha himself, and the second jewel being the teachings of Buddha, which is called the Dharma. And as you can see, many texts that are installed on the side, on both sides. Those are what we call, in every religion, they have teachings. In Christianity, they would say the Bible. The teachings of Jesus Christ is Bible. And in Islam, they call it the Quran. You know, in Hinduism, they call it the Bhagavad-gita, and so on. Just like that, in Buddhism, we have over 100 books or volumes that are the teachings of Buddha, and also we have another 200, a little bit over 200 books, which we call Tanjur. Tanjur. That's Tanjur, meaning that is the teaching of Buddha, which we can equalize it as the Bible of Buddhism. And Tanjur means the commentary. Many of the Buddha students and the council and many great scholars gave commentaries on Buddha's teachings to clarify it, to make it more understandable. So that's why Buddhism is, I don't want to say Buddhism is the best religion, but it is one of the most important religions in the world, and also a growing religion as well. Buddhism to this day is not only considered simply as a religion, but it's also considered as a philosophy of life. At the same time, Buddhism is also recognized as a science. What type of science is it? It's a science of the mind, because Buddha has taught us how to deal with our destructive emotions, how to deal with our negative emotions. As a human being, we are naturally born with many positive, what's the word I'm looking for? Attributes. Yes, we are naturally born with many negative emotions and positive emotions as well. So Buddha has taught us how to filter our mind from destructive emotions. What are destructive emotions? Anger, hatred, jealousy. These are considered as destructive emotions. And we are naturally born with that. But at the same time, we are naturally born with many positive thoughts, such as compassion, tolerance, forgiveness, love, kindness, and so on and so on. So, everybody wants to be happy. Everybody has the right to be happy. And we want everybody to be happy. But to achieve that happiness, we are never ever going to achieve that happiness through anger, hatred, violence, and so on. So there's always a method which may take longer, but in the long term benefit, if we may say, the method of non-violent, peace-loving method is always considered the best way. So Buddhism teaches non-violent, to be compassionate, to be loving, to be kind, not only to ourselves, but also to all sentient beings. To all sentient beings. How many of you consider yourselves Buddhists? Raise your hand. Majority of you consider yourselves Buddhists. So, I usually, when I give talks to Buddhist communities, I ask the question, why are you a Buddhist? The majority of the people that respond to this is because my parents were Buddhist, my grandparents were Buddhist. So my argument to that is, let's say your parents were a thief. Does that make you a thief? No, it doesn't, right? So therefore, Buddhism is not something genetic. It should not be considered something genetic. It's a belief. It's a belief. you should consider yourself a Buddhist only if you know what Buddhism is, who the Buddha is, what he is, what teachings he gave, what impact he gave. And only then you can consider yourself a Buddhist. Now, if you consider yourself a Buddhist, then you must have principles. What are your principles? If you're a Buddhist, you must have principles. And what are the principles that you hold as a Buddhist? Every religious tradition say, okay, I'm a believer. I'm a believer because I hold certain principles. So as a Buddhist, what is the principles that we should be holding? We have 4 principles. 4 principles for being a Buddhist. That is no killing. Principle number 1, no killing. Any form, not just human beings, but also any form of life. No killing. Number 2, taking what is not given. Simply, that's a very diplomatic way of saying it, but in short term, what it means is stealing. Don't steal. Number 3 is don't lie. An individual should never claim that he or she has achieved enlightenment or the state of Buddhahood to cheat somebody. So therefore, our principle number 3 is no lying. Number 4, which is a very big issue and also a growing social problem in many communities. The 4th one is sexual misconduct. Sexual misconduct. What that means is force, rape, having an affair with a married man or wife, getting involved in affairs. So that is considered, if you want to use a Christian term, it would be considered a sin. Well, we also use the term sin, but not as much, but it is considered a negative. So as a Buddhist, yes, if somebody ever asks you, are you a Buddhist? The answer is yes, I'm a Buddhist. What makes you a Buddhist? I believe in Buddha. I believe in the teachings he gave. And I believe in the Sangha. Sangha meaning, that's a very Sanskrit word. What it means is the community that preserves and protects and upholds the Buddhist tradition. For example, monks, nuns. Due to these monasteries that has existed for over hundreds of years, even over 1,000 years, these are the community that has protected, preserved the untarnished teachings of Buddha. Thanks to them that we have Buddhism. Now, imagine, let's remove all the monasteries, let's remove all the monks, right? Do you think you would be calling yourself Buddhist? Do you think you would be considering yourself as a Buddhist? Do you think this temple would even exist? Probably not. Why? Because you wouldn't have the guidance. You wouldn't have somebody to explain to you. You wouldn't have somebody to tell you how to do things. So therefore, thanks to the community that preserves Buddhism, we have a beautiful temple. We had a great leadership. We had a great manya who organized all the altar, the right way to do it, the paintings, and so on. Isn't it? So if you ask the older generation, oh, who got the statues? Bujab did. Oh, who ordered these paintings? Who arranged these paintings? Gombujab did. Manya did it. Gipshe Malam did it. Of course, we had our lay community that were involved in making the frames and making it nicely. But in terms of anything that was connected to the spirituality, it was all thanks to the monks that we were able to make it so beautiful. So therefore, as a Buddhist, I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma, meaning the teachings of Buddha. Number 3, I take refuge in the community that preserves and protects and upholds the tradition. Therefore, that makes me a Buddhist. Now, okay, second question is, if you're a Buddhist, what are your principles? We should all live and lead an ethical life, not only for ourselves, but also for families. Most of the people here have families. You want your children to grow up. You want your children to grow up as good, decent human beings, isn't it? So, if you want your children to grow up, as peace-loving, warm-hearted people, we're going to teach them what? We're going to teach them compassion. We're going to teach them how to respect. We're going to teach them how to be kind. We're going to teach them how to help others. We're not going to tell our kids, go kill somebody today. We're not going to tell our kids, go steal some money today. We're not going to tell our kids, lie to me, lie to your parents, go lie to your mother, go lie to your grandfather or grandmother. We're not going to do that. And why we're not going to do that? Because we use our human intellect to say, that's negative. That's not the right thing to do. That's not the ethical thing to do. That's not the moral thing to do. So therefore, this is what Buddha has taught us, how to live an ethical life. Now, here's another thing. As a lay person, we should have these 4 principles. Yeah? No killing, no stealing, no lying, no sexual misconduct. These are the very 4 basic principles that we should hold. What differentiates a lay person and a monk, a fully ordained monk? Can anybody answer that? Yeah, in Tamil we say Gilum, yeah, which translated means Gelong in Tibetan. A fully ordained monk. A novice monk holds 36 vows. 36 vows. 36 vows. After the age of 21, if he or she, meaning that there's also nuns community as well. So after 21, if a monk wants to continue to live a fully a monk's life, then they are fully ordained, and therefore they would be recognized as